Hello, you guys, and welcome back to the Decision Podcast. Today we have Kayla with us.
Hi.
Here is a little bit of Kayla's story. Kayla's life once spiraled into a place that she never imagined, dropping out of school, seeking validation in toxic relationships, and facing heartbreaking decisions. But then she made one decision that completely changed her life. Here is Kayla's story. Hi, Kayla.
Hi.
I'm so glad that you were able to come on the Decision Podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Exciting.
Yes.
No, thank you for coming. I am very intrigued by your story. I feel like what you sent me so far was super, I would say, helpful to other people that might be going through what you went through in the past, and it can really change others' lives as it changed yours. So let's just start from the beginning. What led you to what you said your decision was, which was finding Jesus and finding your relationship with God?
Yes.
Can we hear a little bit about that backstory? High school, the toxic relationship. But first, let's start with your foundation. So high school, really.
Okay, so I can say I've always had this belief in God. You know how like you grow up in like church and your parents more so push you to do it.
Yeah.
And like even being that little girl, but going into the high school is where it pivoted for me, where I really seen that transition of Kayla wanting Jesus, not something that somebody else was telling me. And I can say it really started going into my 11th grade year is when I came across like depression and not really knowing how to handle that depression and just feeling all types of things. I was getting myself into a lot of trouble in school, failing, mama always getting phone calls, skipping, just the normal high school things. But it really started because of my depression. I didn't know how to handle that. I didn't even know what it was. I'm just like, okay, what am I feeling? What am I going through? I don't have motivation for anything. I don't even know what I'm here for. What's my purpose in life? And going into 12th grade, I got myself into a relationship that was extremely toxic. Even something that my mom didn't agree with. It was one of those relationships where I just found myself losing myself a lot. I got involved into a lot of different things, drinking, smoking, but overly doing those things and entertaining it and just kind of just losing myself more and more and more and more. I can say going into the COVID, I definitely felt the tug of God, just like, girl, I need you to come this way. Like, I need you to come this way. And of course, sometimes we don't listen. We kind of like, God, I'm not sure if I'm ready. I don't know how to come to you. I don't know where to start. I even remember having times where I'm just like, okay, God, one day I'll serve you. I just don't know how right now. I don't know what to do, where to start. I didn't have anyone to actually go to and talk about it with. And I can say, even though we go through things, I'm glad that I went through the things I went through because it made me become the person that I am today.
Yeah.
And being in that relationship showed me things that I needed to see, if that makes sense. And definitely like what God just pulling on me and tugging on me. And then eventually I had one of those moments where it was just like, okay, I can't do this anymore. It was one of those moments where it was just me and God at this point, especially during COVID time.
Yeah.
We couldn't be nowhere. So
you had to that was like a make or break situation for a lot of people. We spoke about in even like some of my YouTube videos about how COVID made people become depressed. Well, they probably were, but didn't even know that they were because they had all those distractions around them.
Yes.
And it left a lot of people having to lock in and figure out who they are. And
so
either made or broke people. Even relationships. That was a big testimony for a lot of people's relationships.
Oh my gosh, that's so true.
You saw how many divorces there were during COVID? Like, so many people breaking up and so many babies being made, and then they even ended up breaking up because they thought like just through intimacy. Now we're happy. We're this happy couple. So yeah, COVID definitely, I'm sure, just like you, a lot of people can relate to it changing their entire perspective of things.
Yes.
So you spoke about depression and how you felt. Do you feel as if you kind of briefly mentioned your mother? How do you think your family supported you through that process? Did you ever have conversations with your parents or any family members or loved ones about depression or about your feelings and mental health?
And see, that's the thing. I didn't know the name for it. Okay. I couldn't really put my finger on it. My mom, at the time, me and my mom didn't have the strongest relationship. Just because she was going through, my mom was still growing up, trying to figure herself out. Then you got this oldest daughter, teenager, trying to discover who she is and what's going on. And I can't say my mom was always very supportive and understanding of like, okay, She got on me a couple times too. She was very hard on me, like, girl, we got to get it together. But I can say she did leave that space open for me to be able to come to her and talk to her and have conversations with her.
Yeah.
And again, it was definitely one of those things where she just kept leading me back to prayer. She kept leading me back to God. And it was hard. I can't say that it was an easy transition for me because God knows it wasn't. It was definitely a struggle. And I feel like it was one of those things where God really had to like get me to the bottom of the barrel to really see like, okay, I need guidance. I don't have guidance. And also growing up, you know, in a single mother household, not having my dad, that also took a very big transition on my life, you know, especially when it comes to like boys and being in high school. It affects you a lot growing up. So
what
I can
age
definitely say that.
would you say that depression and even dating really took over where you felt like it was like in an unhealthy way?
I would definitely say, I want to say ninth grade. I want to say maybe like, yeah, I think so, 16, 15, 16 maybe.
Okay.
I would say that's when it really started for me. And then just getting into like 11th grade, 12th grade. 11th grade, it just hit me. Walking into the school building, I'm just like, it just hit me out of the blue. I'm like, something's off here. I don't feel like myself. And then just also being around certain people, individuals, then putting myself into a relationship, it just added on top of everything.
So like you were still, when you were developing these friendships and relationships, you were still going through depression, you would say?
Yeah, I would say.
And a big wave, how did you conceal your depression? Like, did other people notice you were depressed?
That's a good question. Honestly, I don't know. I think the way that I coped with it at the time was of drinking, smoking, partying, entertaining certain things that I had no business entertaining. I think that was the way of me trying to cope. But even through like all of that and trying to cope, none of it worked. For me personally, none of it helped me and none of it healed what was really deeply wrong with me on the inside. And I would definitely say that. I don't think anybody really seen it. And maybe because I didn't have a lot of people around me that were truly friends or loved, people that actually care for me, because they were more so leading me closer to those things than away from those things. So I would definitely say that.
Can you tell us like a story about maybe like one of your friends that took you down the wrong path? I know you mentioned a little bit about that, and then we'll get into the boyfriends and everything. But what was a story that made you realize like, okay, that was not a good friend? If you can think of one.
Wow. That's a good question. I've experienced so many, so many stories of just like thinking that I have friends, and especially like when you're in high school, drama.
Yeah, middle school.
Really
honestly,
middle school.
Crazy.
Really middle
kids
school.
are not nice people.
No, they aren't. I would definitely say, it's so many different things I could say, but I would say really starting in high school, I had like a group of friends, and I would say people were more so pushing me to do things that I wasn't comfortable with. And also just a lot of drama, mess. It's a lot. And I entertained it because of feeling like I had to protect myself. So kind of just like, I don't know how to explain it, but also doing things to kind of fit in, because I was bullied when I was younger. So getting into high school and you kind of got a little clique around you and they're leading you all, to the wrong things. I would definitely say I just try to fit in, but it caused a lot of chaos, a lot of drama, and also not really knowing like what true friendship is and what that looks like, you know. And I would definitely say that was like a growing moment for me, realizing, okay, friends don't lead you further away from God, for one, and they don't lead you into the path of destruction and doing things that don't better you, because I was around a lot of people that more so pulled me down than pulled me up. And also I blame myself, because we do have free will to be like, okay, I shouldn't be entertaining this or doing this, but I would definitely say like,
like, so there was like, was there like I guess maybe like a specific moment where you noticed like, okay, I'm spiraling a bit out of control? Like, was it with the friends or was it in that relationship?
I would say fighting.
Like physically?
Yeah.
Okay.
Lots of fighting. because again, I felt like I was one of those friends that like I love so hard. Like I just every time I find a friend, I'm just very like pouring into you, loving, caring.
Yeah.
And then you realize these people aren't really your friends and they talk about you or they gossip about you. And me being my younger self, trying to protect myself from that, I'm like, okay, the only thing I could think of is, fighting, resulting to fighting. And I will never forget my last time actually, I'm like, okay, I'm going to settle down with this fighting stuff. Was about to get into an altercation with a friend. And I just remember like, after that moment, I went into my room and I just broke down crying. I said, this is not me. Like, I'm losing myself. And I'm allowing people to get me out of character. And I'm not quick to anger, type of person. So I'm like, something's not right. Like, I'm really genuinely losing myself. Yeah.
Yeah, and like have the fights ever gotten you kicked out of school or anything of that sort, or suspended, or
Most definitely.
in worst cases, some people get arrested for fighting or something of that sort. Did any of that ever happen to you?
Yes, most definitely kicked out of school. Even like with some teachers, they will be shocked. Like, you're quiet. You don't really.
Like, where's all this anger?
Like, where is this coming from? Yeah. And it definitely came from just me like really not knowing who I am and just being around all these different people.
Yeah.
And like I'm like, this is not my character. This is not who I am. And this is not who God created me to be. But of course, like, I wasn't really paying attention because I was just anger was all over the place. So yeah.
And what the school that you went to, would you say that school was more so a some schools there's more fighting at the school versus like a school that's more like there's less of that.
Yeah.
Okay? Without saying too much. Was your school like a quote unquote good school, or was it known for there being fights?
It was definitely known for fighting.
Okay.
At first I didn't want to go, but I had no choice. I wouldn't say it was the worst school, but during the time that I was going, it was definitely like a lot of fighting and just a lot of crazy stuff going on. And then you find yourself in the middle because you're around that environment. You tend to like the environment that you are around. You tend to become those people and you don't even recognize it. And you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah. I also feel like it's kind of like you're forced to have to like fight, or you're forced to have to be put in certain situations that you wouldn't be. Hence why I even say now, like, I can kind of relate to you because I'm a Catholic school girly. I've been a Catholic school girl all my life. But I can relate to it in terms of as you get older and you start entering into nightlife and what type of environments do you want to be in? Because I would put myself in certain predicaments because I had like certain friends that weren't like typically aligned to my morals and standards, and they would put me in unsafe situations and I wouldn't allow myself to be in that. But it's like, I remember one day I was just looking around, I'm like, this isn't me. Why am I here? Like some people would even ask me like, why are you here? When someone asks you that, exit stage left. And like how you said, your teacher's like, why? What is all this? Like, you're quiet, da da da. Like, you have to really be able to pay attention to what is meant for you, like you said, what God has for you, and maybe not saying that you're better than anybody.
Right.
But it's like maybe they're in a different path at this moment versus like where you are.
I agree.
And just some people realize it sooner rather than later.
Yes.
But yeah, so that was like a really good moment that you mentioned in terms of like how you become like kind of the sentiment of birds of a feather flock together.
I love that song.
Yeah, because you literally, I know, me too. You literally do become who you surround yourself with.
That's true.
So yeah, let's now get into your relationship. Yeah. And you did already briefly mention how toxic that relationship was. Can we have a deeper insight on that relationship?
Yes.
How you guys met? Was it like the honeymoon phase and then it got really dark?
Yes.
What happened in the relationship? Like, let's just hear a little bit about it.
I would say we met, I want to say middle school. We met middle school. I can't remember exactly what grade, but we met in middle school. And at the time, like, it wasn't, I guess it was like little kitty crushes, but it was nothing too extreme at that time. Just friendship, little kitty crushes. We began to date once we reached high school, 11th grade, going into that 12th grade year, really 11th grade. Because going into 12th grade was a whole nother story. But 11th grade, summertime. Summertime. I'm trying to make sure I don't get anything mixed up. Around that time, we began to like hang out again and stuff like that. And I seen that he started to like, show interest that he liked me or whatnot. So of course, me being I'm not gonna lie, I was a young, insecure girl. So me being that girl and wanting that type of attention, I kind of just went for it. Mind you, we really didn't get to know each other. We really didn't get to sit down and see if we had similar interests or going through like the courting stage and kind of seeing. And he was mostly like a lot of like partying and drinking and smoking and just kind of the same stuff over and over, like cycle.
Yeah.
And I would say that's when I began to get into that environment. I do remember our relationship kind of just jumped into like intimacy, sexual intimacy, more so of like him getting to know me and just me kind of just allowing him to kind of do just whatever, like, and it was like a very bad relationship to the point where it became verbally abusive. I would get called lots of names, couldn't have many friends, just a lot of different little things, red flags that I kind of looked over, a lot of cheating involved. Especially like we end up going to school together. That made it even worse. Like
in college?
High school.
High school, okay.
Yes, it made it even worse. It got to the point where I started to hang with him so much. I remember he had a party one time and somebody mentioned it to the school. Mind you, it was so many different other people at that party.
Mentioned what to the school?
Just like the party.
There was a party, okay.
Drugs were involved.
Okay.
And I remember that day I went to school and that was like the last time I ever went to that school. They were like, you got to go.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like,
how were they able to do that? If it was
I don't
off
know.
of school grounds.
To this day, I honestly don't know.
Oh, wow.
I still don't even know. And then I was already struggling with school because, mind you, in 11th grade, I did drop out of school because of the depression that I was going through. Yeah. So now you're not in school, you get kicked out, mama's mad, you partying, you doing all this extra crazy stuff. What's going on? Yeah.
How long did you drop out of school for?
I dropped out for a minute. But praise God, I actually just graduated. I did an online course. So yes, thank you. Yes. So now I'm in college, and wow. Yeah.
That's so exciting. I'm so happy for you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But yes,
so it was a period of time.
Yes, it was a period of time. Okay. Because I know 2020 I was supposed to graduate.
Okay.
Around the COVID time. Mm-hmm. But I didn't with my class, and then I tried to get in school, but it was like nothing was working. Like, everybody was just like, your credits is off, girl. We're going to have to send you all the way back to, like, I'm like, wow, I'm about to be grown. You trying to say,
9th grade? That's crazy.
And I was like, I can't do it. Like, it just didn't sit well with me. I ended up going to a school, but COVID came. They shut the school down. So I kind of lost focus. And especially with that relationship, I started to really lose focus of, like, who I was. Yeah. I tried to, like, make myself fit in for him. Okay. And tried to make myself do things to please him, even if it was hurting me, and the relationship got just very toxic, verbally, physically, at times.
But on your end or his end or both?
It was kind of like, maybe not like hitting to the point where you like beating somebody, but pushing. And of course, like I get angry and I'm pushing back, and police and things of that sort. And even like, police were telling me, like, you got to get out of this situation. You should not be in this situation. You're young. You're still trying to find yourself. Like, it was so many different signs that God was showing me, and I just kept going like this, like, God.
How did police even get involved?
His mom, actually. She was even telling me, like, I don't think you should be in this. Oh, wow. Even hearing it from his mom, and I'm still just like,
everybody just telling you.
Everybody, even my best friend, she's like, girl, like...
It's just not.
What's going on?
And you were 16 at this time?
I would say, was I maybe 17, 18?
Yeah, well, I think 16, 17, or 18, I still think that you should be able to give yourself grace, because at that age, you don't know, like, you really don't, no matter how mature you are for your age. Even I used to get that all the time. Yeah. You're so mature for your age. The decisions I was making at like 17, 18, 19, heck, even 20, 21, like, I still would not say... I wouldn't make those decisions now.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And I think you have to allow yourself to...
That's so true.
...know that, it was just more like probably like trauma bonding. You were going through your own stuff. You said you were dealing with depression and you were trying to fit in. And then you're also, all these hormones are going crazy. And you just don't know how to, understand those situations fully. So definitely I think you got to give yourself grace a little bit when it comes to, that relationship. And how long did that relationship go on for?
Maybe like a year or 2 years.
Okay.
A year or two.
Yeah.
Definitely. And in that moment, that's when like the tug for God really hit. I feel like that's when my eyes, my ears started to become very like, oh, like God is really like, girl, okay, I'm calling you. This relationship I'm trying to actually take away from you. And it started to, the relationship with him, I guess because I was so codependent on that relationship, like kind of like just like I don't want to lose you, even though you're doing all these things to me. I don't have anyone to lean on, you know. And I tried to hold on to it so bad, and God just kept breaking it away and away, and it just got worse and worse and worse over time to the point where I'm like, it was even moments where I'm just like, I felt like I was in danger. Like, I need to get out of this relationship.
Yeah.
And it was even like a time my mom even confronted the situation with him. Like, I don't want you with her. I don't want you with him. She's like, Kayla, this is getting out of hand. Like, it's becoming so bad that you're not doing anything with yourself. You stop working. You're not in school. Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And it was definitely a lot. It was a lot.
Yeah, I know. In your biography that you sent over to me, you mentioned that you and him had to make a decision that was like pretty like a serious decision. Are you comfortable with speaking a little bit about that?
Basically just the decision of like letting go of the relationship. And I know like I guess you could say I tried to put God in the relationship, because I would tell him like, I feel like God is tugging on me and I don't want to entertain certain things anymore and just this and that. And it really made us clash heads because he would do it for like me, but it wasn't something that he really wanted. Yeah. And so it really made us bump heads like crazy, like really, really bad. And like, again, like you said, not to say that we're better than anybody because we all have different journeys in life.
Exactly.
And just because I decided that this is something I wanted to do doesn't make him this horrible person, but we all go through different things at different ages and stages in life. And I'm just thankful that, you know, God did get me out of that situation, but it was something that we had to make a choice. Like, we got to let this go. But eventually I had to put my foot down and say, I really can't do this relationship anymore. Like, I can't see myself doing it anymore, you know?
Yeah. And then with him, how did he take it when you ended things? Did you end it or was it a mutual agreement?
Yeah, I ended it. He didn't take it well.
Okay.
It actually got really bad, to the point where my brother got involved, my mom, everybody was like involved. And I just remember that was like my last straw. Like, this is not it. And
how involved did they get into it?
It got
physical.
I would say physical. Even like verbal words being said to me, even like things about my dad not being in my life, getting called B words, elemental P words, girl, just getting called everything in the book, and just being like, just threatening me in a sense. And my brother came in, he's seeing all this, and he just went, you know, my brother's not tiny, so he's like, what's going on? Like, you know, and he kind of just yanked him up, like, I don't like the way you treated my sister. His mom ended up coming to get him. And I just remember my mom sitting on the bed with me and she's like, Kayla, like, I want better for you, you know? And she said, God is showing you, like, this is not it. He would never put you in a situation like this. And that's when I realized, okay, that's it. Yeah.
Were you guys you guys weren't living together? You were living with your mom at the time?
Yes.
And you said you're the oldest.
Yeah.
How many siblings do you have?
In total, it's 7 of us.
Oh, wow.
But I also have siblings on my dad's side, so I like to say I'm like, it's so many of us. I have a sister on my dad's side and I have like 4 other brothers on my dad's side as well. And right now with my mom, it's 7 of us. So
Okay. And then they all were living in the house at the same time as you when they were.
Yeah.
So how do you think your younger siblings, I'm assuming you also have sisters, not just all brothers.
Yeah.
How they took to seeing your relationship, because you said that it was pretty, like, you know, everyone knew there was stuff going on. How did your younger sisters take to it? Did they talk to you about it? Did you speak to them?
Yeah, I would say it bothered them. There was even times where they would text me and be like, Kayla, like, you know, come home. And you know, they didn't really say too much. I guess they didn't really want to get too involved with it, but I know they just was not happy with it. And definitely my brother, he didn't enjoy seeing it at all either. And then my other sister, she kind of was like back and forth, so she didn't really see too much that was going on. But my other sister, she seen it and she was like, yeah, this ain't it, you know, like this is not it. So I would say they really did, like, they didn't like what I was going through. And especially like them seeing the change in me, because I would say I'm very like relaxed and calm and goofy, very goofy and fun. And like them seeing like that switch, it was kind of like, oh, what's going on with Kayla? Like, and just becoming more, I wouldn't say mean, but just like standoffish, like locked up in my room or always with him. Always, like 24/7.
That was my next question I was going to ask. Like, how frequently, how much time did y'all spend together? I feel like a lot of toxic relationships, and I've even seen it like in I've had peers that have had toxic relationships and, you know, close friends. And a lot of the times that we notice that the constant spending time with the boyfriend and the secluding them from like their family.
Yes, that's so true.
The girl not even noticing that he's doing that until after the relationship is over. So I was just very curious about that, because that's like a one major sign of like what is considered an abusive partner or a toxic partner. So
that's crazy, because I know like around that time, my best friend, she was on me like, girl, we ain't seen you. We haven't heard from you. Like, I don't like this for you. Like, my siblings texted me like, when are you coming home? And I could see myself just always there. And I think what it was the fear of like losing him and the fear of cheating.
Yeah.
Because I feel like anytime I'm not around, you're doing something that I don't like. And so I'm always like, I have to be there. I have to be there. I have to be there. And just coping with what I was also going through. And knowing that at that time, he was the person I was coping with. You know, we both were going through things, so we're just trauma bonding and just coping together, but hurting each other at the same time. And yeah.
And I meant did you mention cheating? Was cheating a factor? How frequently was that happening?
I didn't really figure out until like the very end. Of course, like I seen little things and I'm like, example, one night I was supposed to go over there, but I didn't. I just wasn't in the mood. And he wasn't answering. The phone was going green. And mind you, we were talking that whole day. Nighttime hit, you just MIA. You gone. Where you at? You know? And then like the next day, oh, I'm sorry. I was partying. My friend, you know, my phone was dead. But then when the relationship ended, that's when I started seeing like DMs. Even like in school, people were telling me like, girl, this man doing this. Why you with him? And I'm just like, oh, like I didn't want to believe it.
Yeah.
You know, and then it also stemmed like from my personal insecurities. Like, what's wrong with me? Like, you know, why did you have to entertain this girl or this girl? But as you get older, you start to realize it has nothing to do with you.
It has everything to do with them. And it's so funny because the story you told with the message going green, I have something kind of similar, but mine, he was a little more extreme. Like he would pretend he was in the hospital. So he like say he had a heart condition. So he told me he had a heart condition. And then he would randomly it would always be like at night, and he would disappear for like a while. His friends text him like, oh, he's in the hospital. But like I never would hear from his father. Right. He'd just disappear. But then I ran into the friend when I was actually in London, which is so funny. Like we happened to be in London at the same time, so we met up. And the friend told me, he's like, no, like he would tell me to lie to you because he'd be hanging out with another girl. And
that is extreme.
He'd be with that girl. They would like spend weekends together, like in hotels, while I'm sitting here worried sick, thinking, and my family is worried sick. Friends like, oh, how is he doing? Da da da. And no, he was just lying, pretending he was in a hospital, like fighting for his life. Like that is crazy. And that's when I knew. Yeah. That has everything to do. There's some little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs up in there.
You go to that extreme. That's crazy.
That's crazy. Wow. It was very traumatic at the time. Now I laugh at it.
You laugh?
It was like that was a little odd. Plus I was like younger, so that's why I look at it like, you know, that was a relationship from like 16 to 19. Now I'm 23 and I'm like, that wasn't like really a serious, you know. But at the moment, and if that happened now, girl. I would have. Now, when I'm trying to get this ring,
no, for real.
Crash out real quick. But not speaking on crashing out, I now want to hear about your testimony. And I know you kind of said, you said a few things that led you to be like, okay, let's get it together. But what was the staple that was like, it's time to release myself to God? Okay.
This is a very personal conversation. I know it's a very sensitive topic. I did end up getting pregnant during all of this. And it's really sensitive to me because I used to like, I love how you said show yourself grace, because I used to beat myself up about this testimony. I used to tell God, like, I don't know if I want to share this to the world. And I'm trying not to get emotional because I never like seen myself sharing it, but I used to tell God, like, I don't really want to share it because I know that it's a very sensitive topic, but I know that being able to share this can help another young woman.
So many, yeah.
And I can say what really took me to that place was I got pregnant around all of this. And I didn't notice it until like the symptoms started showing. I'm like, oh, I think something going on, you know? And at the time I was still young. I wasn't working. Well, I was working, not really working. I didn't really have income coming in. I think he was kind of doing stuff. And mind you, I was still participating in activities of drinking and smoking and didn't even notice that I had a whole baby growing inside of me. And I remember like telling him like I think I'm pregnant, miss my cycle and everything. And he's like, "Oh, okay." He was actually excited about it. Me on the inside, I'm like, I'm not really excited about this.
Men are always excited.
They're always excited.
Like,
and I remember telling God, like, I just remember just being on my face like, God, because it was really bad. Like the symptoms that I was experiencing, it really felt like I was dying. Like it was really bad. And I remember telling God, like, God, I don't want to result to the abortion thing. I know like many people have their different views on it, but I know like with God, it's one of those things it's a very sensitive topic for many women. And I definitely understand that, you know? And I remember just telling God, like, I don't want to result to this, but I can't take care of this child. And it's funny because now that I'm older, I'm like, girl, you put yourself in that place, you know, and it just really broke me because I didn't want to have that choice. And then my mom was kind of pushing me to do it. She's like, look, you can't take care of this child right now. And I remember just being in that room with so many different other women and just how emotional it was and how like traumatic it was. And just the experience in general is a very traumatic experience. And it's something I still live with. It's something that I'll never forget. I can't just brush it to the side and be like, oh, you know, like, because to me, it was still like, I actually wanted to continue that, you know, having a child. I wanted to do it. And there was even a lady in the hospital. She was trying to really persuade me. She was like, you know, they're a gift and, you know, you can even send them to adoption and this and that. And then that even broke me down because when I was younger, I was in adoption. You know, I was adopted. Yeah. So I was just like, I was stuck. My mom was really disappointed. I did end up going through with the process. And like I said, it damaged me like bad. Like just the experience after. Yeah. It was like very traumatic experience for me. And like I said, it's very sensitive and something that I don't really tell most people. I kind of keep it to myself. Yeah. But that is one thing that kind of just hit it on the nail. And I just remember breaking down to God, like, what did I just do? You know, why do I feel so ashamed and just all these different types of things? Yeah. It's definitely something that sticks with me, but God is a very forgiving, merciful God. And he knew us before we were even born. Mm-hmm. He knew the things that we were going to do, the life that we were going to have, but it led me closer to him and it led me to understand him. And I can say a little short story also. I remember just even being in a car one day with my ex. We were hot boxing, I guess that's what you call it. We were sitting and we were just smoking. And I remember it was like I had an anxiety attack. And like I never really had like really bad anxiety attacks. But this moment, I will never forget. We were sitting in the car. And mind you, this was all around the time that God was still like tugging on me. And I just was not listening. And I sat in the car and I'm just sitting there. And he's just, you know, smoking, doing his thing. And I remember just smoking. And it was just like this flash, like, how can I explain it? It was like I seen my life before, like.
Flash before your eyes.
Yes, like, it was like God was like, if you continue to walk down this path, that you're going to destroy yourself. You're walking in a path of destruction. And I remember just seeing myself walk down that path, and it was just like, I literally just had a panic attack. Like, I'm just freaking out. I'm gasping for air. I'm like, I got to get out of this car. And immediately, the first name that I call on is the name of Jesus. I'm like, God, I need you. I don't know what I'm doing. You know, I'm like, I need you. Yeah. And I said, I'm sorry. And I'm asking for forgiveness. And I'm just like, okay, God, like, and like, I think the beautiful thing about God is he's so patient.
Yeah.
He takes his time with us. He understands that we're not going to get it right immediately. He took his time with me because in that moment, I'm like, okay, God, I'm not smoking no more. I'm not doing it anymore. I'm sorry. I don't want to live this life.
Yeah.
Then, the pregnancy thing and then the fighting thing. It all was just like boom, boom, boom. It was just so much happening all in like that year.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my gosh. And I remember just like laying on my face and I said, God, I don't want to do this anymore. I can't live this life without you anymore. I can't do it.
Yeah.
And of course, like I went through some other stuff before that real transition happened. And I would say for me, the moment that my life changes, I was sitting in my room one day and I just poured myself out to God. I feel like a lot of people don't understand that God is waiting to hear from us. We are the ones that walk far away from him. He never leaves us. He never forsakes us. We are the ones that decide to leave him. He gives us free will. We can do whatever we decide to do. It's up to us if we want a relationship. It's like we go out here and we meet so many different people. It's up to you if you want that relationship with that person or you keep it cordial, you keep it associate. It's up to you. And with God, it's the same thing. He's a father. He's not going to force us to do anything. We all have a choice to make in this life, and he'll tug on us. I believe that God tugs on each and every one of us. We are his creation.
Mm-hmm.
We are. And I feel like, again, it's up to us to be like, okay, yes, I want this. No, I want this. And God look, the Bible says that he wishes for all to come to repentance. Yeah. That means that he wants a relationship with all of us. But he knows that we are going to choose what we want to choose, And I just remember like crying out to him, like screaming, crying. It was like 2:00 in the morning because I couldn't sleep. It would be nights where I just could not go to sleep. I would just be twisting and turning. And like I'm up early in the morning, just twisting and turning. I'm like, why can't I sleep? And I remember this girl on TikTok. I'm scrolling. I used to always just be scrolling. God's like, God's like, okay, you scrolling. I'm gonna get you on this. I'm gonna get you on this app. Oh. I'm gonna get your attention on this app. Even like situations with my best friend, we would be together and we would be together, and it would be moments where God would just pop up, and he would just pop up, and we like, girl. I'm like, girl, I think he calling on us. And she like, me too. She like, me too. But I remember I was up and I was just scrolling, and this girl popped up on TikTok, and she's like, I don't know who, she was like, if you're waking up at like this time in the morning, she was like, God is calling on you. God is trying to get your attention. And it was like something just struck me. And I jumped up and I was like, this is real life. Like, I feel God like saying, my child, like, come to me. Yeah. Did I know why? No. But in that moment, I just knew like God was calling me. I jumped up. I'm praying. I'm crying. 2:00 in the morning. Everybody knocked out sleep in my room. I remember the lamp in my room. It was a dim light. And I remember as I'm praying, the light just got brighter. Wow, really? And my friends were praying over me. Because I called them. I'm like, y'all, I need prayer. Like, I think I want to give my life to God, like, fully. They're like, really? Like, I'm like, yes, I'm ready. And they like, oh my gosh, okay. So they started praying for me. And I just felt the Holy Spirit just come over me. It was like a change. I felt new. It was like every burden that I felt just got lifted. Every pain, every fear, everything that I felt for those years, starting from when I was a little girl, growing up, it was like God just said, let me take it. And he took all of it. Every little thing that I was feeling, he took it. And I just remember this overwhelming sense of peace that I cannot explain. It was a peace that nothing in this world could ever give us. It was just a peace that I was like, I don't want to lose this peace. Like, it was God. And I just remember like just feeling him just like, I'm here. And I literally went to sleep smiling that night. Like, I was just like, so beautiful. Went to sleep smiling and I woke up. I felt like I just woke up a new person. Okay. And my desire to read my Bible came because I was one of those people I was like, I like the Bible, but I don't understand the Bible. Yeah.
That's me right now. I think, first of all, very, very powerful testimony. Wow, like, I love that testimony, and it's so inspirational because I know even me, like I said, like I had to face something, like I was just, that was the first time I ever experienced depression. This time last year. No, maybe earlier last year, so 2023, the beginning of 2023. And I just was like, something very traumatic happened to me, and I was just like, just sad. I remember my mom was like super concerned about me. She was like, calling me every day. Mind you, all my family's, I told you, is up north, and I was the only one down south in Savannah by myself completely.
Wow.
And everything was just horrible. And I was like, I don't know what else to do. And something just kept telling me to go to church. I kept pushing church away because I grew up kind of sort of in church.
Yeah.
Mainly through high school, my mom started getting closer to God. So I would go to church with her because she made me. But then like after high school, I just was like, I guess I'll go. Like I didn't care. It's not that I didn't care. I didn't actively seek to go to find a church. But when I was like that feeling of like just feeling like lonely and empty, and I was just like, and mind you, I was a fresh 22.
Wow.
And I was like, this can't be like how life is. And I had everything. My YouTube channel was thriving. I was making amazing money, like money that I never thought I'd be able to be making. Yeah. But I still felt empty. And then I decided to go to church. And that day, I remember, like I made a TikTok going to church that day, saying, get ready for me to go to church for the first time. Once I stepped foot in that church, like it just felt like that peace you just spoke on. Yeah. I literally felt that peace. And though like I'm not perfect because I'm still learning, I still want to continue growing my relationship. And right now, that's my next step is to like be more comfortable reading the Bible. Yeah. Actively setting time aside to pray. Yeah. Versus just like, okay, praying when you wake up and praying when you go to sleep and praying when you eat meals, but actually like sitting and talking to God. Yes. But that was the day that I remember I was like, I haven't felt like before that day, that was like the saddest I've ever been, and I've been great since. And praise now God. I'm in a really good place now, and I just am thankful. I know that was like, okay, I know that was God. And there's like little things now that I see that I'm like, God is here. He's speaking to me. Yeah, I can be better. I'm still working on it. I want to like grow my relationship, which we're gonna talk about with you in a second. So I'm actually curious, and I'm sure other people are curious too, that want to know more about what changes you made and how to stay consistently in a relationship with God in a healthy one. Wow. So, and even for those that don't believe in God, or should I say Jesus? Jesus Christ. Yeah. What were steps you took to get to that point? Because you talked about like your testimony right there, but how did you start, and what has led you to stay where you are now?
That's so good. Okay, so little funny story. God has a lot of humor. Yeah. I remember I had this Bible. It had been in my room for a while, but I just finally noticed it. And it was sitting on my TV stand. And it was a little blue, greenish little paper Bible. And I remember I tried to read it a couple times, but I'm like, I don't understand this. I knew that I had to read my Bible. I knew that was the next step in my relationship with God. Okay, you accepted him in your heart. Yeah. That's the first step. Okay, so God, how do I get to know you more? How do I understand the salvation? How do I get into a relationship with you? And he's like, my word. I remember seeing videos of people like, you got to read your Bible.
I see that all the time on TikTok.
You got to read your Bible.
Get into it.
And I remember I told God, I'm like, okay, I'm going to read it. I'm going to read it. Yeah. And I told him, like, I'm going to read the Bible. I'm going to get into it. I remember one day, I decided that I was going to read. I'm like, okay, I'm going to finally read it. And I'm like a Sims girly. So I was
yeah, me
too. That's so cute. I love Sims. Me too.
Addiction. So I was like 8. Like I've been on
Girl.
2, 3, and 4. Okay.
Oh my God. So I remember I had it on my TV at this time because I didn't have a laptop. So I was playing it on my Xbox. Okay. And the Bible was sitting right there. So I'm like, okay, after I get done eating and after I get done playing Sims, I'm going to read my Bible. Mind you, I've been telling God this all day. It's going on 9 o'clock and you still talk about you going to read your Bible. Yeah. I turned on my TV. This story is so funny to me. I turned on my TV and I go downstairs to get my food. Mm-hmm. So I was down there talking to my grandma, my mom, and my siblings for a good little minute. I come back upstairs. My TV's on the floor.
Oh, wow.
Literally on the floor. I'm like... And then the Sims games just played in the background, like just The Sims game is literally just playing in the background. I'm like, why is my TV on the floor? Like nobody was in there, my siblings, nobody. I'm like, why is my TV on the floor? And the Sims game, I pick up the TV. The TV, all you see is the little colors and the Sims game in the background. My TV no longer working. This point, she ain't got no TV. She ain't got no laptop. She ain't got nothing. And even in that time, God had took a lot of my friends away. So like at this point, it's just you and God in this room, girl. He like, girl, you finna read this Bible. I'm like, okay, God, I'm gonna read my word. I'm gonna read my Bible. And I would say, I tell people all the time, continue to read. When you first open the Bible, you're not going to always understand it.
That's my issue. That's why I stopped. I was like, I don't know.
It's easy for us to be like, I don't understand this. But I would say, one thing I say is I ask God, give me wisdom, understanding, knowledge, and discernment. in your word, because it's a spiritual book.
Yeah.
You know, and we are we have to, you have to go to the source to understand his word, which is, you know, going to God and understanding exactly what he's saying. And I asked him for wisdom. The Bible says that if we ask God for wisdom, he'll give us wisdom, in understanding who he is and what his word says. And so every time, I still to this day, every time I read my word, I say, God, I ask for understanding, knowledge, discernment in what I'm about to read. And God will literally lighten your eyes in his word and help you to understand it. And what, you know, help you to understand what you're reading. I can say I did start in Psalms. I feel like Psalms is very beginner friendly for most people, or like the Gospels is also a good one as well, or even Genesis. Genesis is literally talking about the beginning of the world, how God created.
That's what I started with. I started with Genesis, and I enjoyed it until it's like when as he's talking about, I think like creating the earth, the different kingdoms and all the names. I was like I had to keep going on Google and be like, what does this verse mean? I don't know what that means. It was just a lot.
Yeah.
But okay, so I've heard Psalms, Proverbs. I've heard
Proverbs is really
a really good one to start with.
Yes, Proverbs is
then you
really
hear people,
good.
like I said, Genesis, they say read from start to finish.
Yes.
But, so what would I know you said you started with Psalms. What would you recommend for everybody else to start with?
Every time people come to me, I always lead them to Psalms.
Okay.
Or Proverbs. Proverbs is good.
Yeah.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because Proverbs shows us like the difference between somebody who walks with God and somebody who decides, I want to go this way. And it also just shows us like different paths, and like God showing us like, hey, if you come to me and if you accept this wisdom, I can give you this eternal life. I can give you this peace. I can walk you in a direction that is good. But if you decide that you want to continue, because we walk ourselves in the directions that we don't need to be walking. We need God for guidance. We do. We are created by him. So of course, why wouldn't we have him in our life? We are created for him and for his glory. Mm-hmm. And like in Genesis, since the beginning of times, even in Genesis, God was walking with Adam and Eve. Mm-hmm. He was in the garden with them. He is a relational God. He wants relationship. I know there's like, I'm the type of person where I know there's so many different sayings about God and so many things on TikTok, and it just makes people just be like, maybe I don't want to entertain this God. Like, I am like a strong advocate to speak highly of the character of God. I feel like it's really being distorted in a way, of like who God is and his character, and also like certain people that's in the body, and it's like you ain't really representing Christ for real, but they say God's name and they're more so doing more harm than.
What I've done I don't know if you saw the video.
Yeah, I did.
I kind of but everybody took it the wrong way. I was like, I'm not saying that everyone should live a life of sin. I'm just saying it's the way, if you lead with saying how God is a loving God, that will lead a lot more people and guide them to even start that relationship, and then they will gradually change.
Will turn. Yes.
That's all I was saying. I'm just saying, like, when you come in with all this, like, oh, you're doing this and you're wrong for that, like, that's not going to guide anybody to want to, like, especially young people in your 20s or you're 18, 16, whatever. You're not going to want to, like, because it just sounds like a bunch of, no, you can't do this. Like, that's all I was trying to say.
That's so true.
Yeah.
I remember when I first got saved, it was like this fire. And I'm just like, everybody get right or you're going to hell.
I think that's what it is. I think people get super excited.
They get excitement. But God will eventually calm them down like, hey, yes, we know hell is a very important topic. We understand that. Mm-hmm. But God leads us all in with love first.
Exactly.
Then, as he leads you in with love, he starts to show you little things, bits by bits, like, okay, this doesn't glorify me. We got to let this go. This is hurting you, and it's hurting our relationship. We got to let this go. Yeah. I look at God as boundaries. Mm-hmm. You know, if you're in a relationship with somebody, you're not going to constantly keep doing stuff to disrespect them. When you first get into a friendship or relationship, y'all get to know each other. You build that trust. That love is there. As it goes on, those boundaries are there.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not going to walk all over you and, you know, talk about you or say mean things to you. It's the same thing with God. He has boundaries. He has his relationship with us. It requires boundaries. It requires respect. And it's all out of love. And then the beautiful thing about it is, as God leads us to turning more into his image, it's beautiful because you become who you truly are. I think a lot of us are walking around with false identities, and God will strip it away. Like, no, this is not who I created you to be, or what you are for. This is who you're for. This is what I've created you to be. And it's beautiful because, and I love that because it just shows you like how loving God is, and he will do the changing. It's not our job to change people. We are not God. If we were God, we would be able to change each other. I cannot change you. I can help, I can lead, I can guide, but I can't force you to do anything. God is not going to force you to do anything. And that's something I had to learn, because I was heavy on like, get it together, you're going to hell, like da 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 da. But God eventually calmed me down, and he showed me myself. You are not perfect neither. I'm still working on you every day. You still struggling with this every day. So I got to take you through this process. How do you think you're going to lead somebody else to me if that's the very first thing that's coming out of your mouth?
Yeah.
And I'm a very, like, even when I talk to people about Christ outside of like school or work or whatever, I'm like, I get to know them first. Let me get to know this person first. And a lot of times people will end up telling me a little about themselves, and then I'm like, okay, now I can introduce them to God and see where they are at with God and try to hear them, because I feel like a lot of times people are not listening to this person's story. Listen first, and then you can try to lead. Because if you're so busy ready to just talk and give them a response, how are you going to lead them to Christ?
Yeah,
it's not going to work.
Yeah, and like I said, I can even say for myself, I am not perfect. I'm still trying to learn. I still want to grow. There's things that I feel like God's calling me to take away certain things that are part of my lifestyle, but I struggle with personally wanting to be like young and embrace, your 20s.
Yeah.
Like, this is what this time is for.
Right.
And then also building that relationship, maintaining that relationship with God, should I say. Because I have a relationship with God, but I want to maintain it and grow it even more, yes. But yeah, that's like, so I think that's a constant struggle for, like I said, young people. And when some people that did find God maybe at a younger age, maybe you did find God at 22 and you're able to strip the makeup and you want to dress more modestly and you don't drink anymore, you don't smoke anymore, all that stuff. That might be your path because God spoke to you. Because even you had like very clear signs. Like God was like knocking TVs over, your lights getting brighter. You had a flash. I fully believe you. But I was like, I'm sitting here like, well, God never like did anything like that. For like, can he say something to me? Show me the light, please.
Show me the light.
But I feel like some people really like. I think God speaks to people in different ways.
He does.
I think some people need it a bit more, like he's a little bit more blatant than others.
Yeah.
But if you're one of the others, I think that it's honestly even harder. I consider myself one of the others, because you have to like really look at the little signs and appreciate that.
That's true.
But yeah, so that's my little testimony to what your testimony was.
Yes.
And with that, you said, we were talking about like some things that you've changed. Like, do you still drink, or is it moderately? Do you smoke? What is
for me, I can say that desire has been stripped away.
Okay.
I wasn't even like a heavy smoker for real. So I can understand how somebody may have been a more heavier smoker, and it's a little bit more of a journey for them.
Yeah.
Because I know that I've heard testimonies of people who come to Christ and like something may be a little harder for them to let go because they coped with it so much. And now you're like, God, you like, God, you want me to let this go? But that's why I say he's so patient. Mm-hmm. He will take little by little and strip it away and fill you in with him. So now, okay, I don't need this. I don't have to depend on this because I have a God that I can depend on that will never leave me, that will never forsake me. And so I say, like, I asked God to help me. I'm like, okay, God, you want me to let go of these things? I need your help. He was like, okay, like he helped me through it. I even did like a fast for like smoking and like drinking, and he literally just started stripping it away. And also it's our job as well. Like if we say we want to do something, because a lot of times we'll tell God like, okay, God, I'm waiting. And God's like,
me too.
Me too. Like, me too. Like, what's going on? I'm telling you that I'm telling you to let go of this. And the thing about it is we know when God is whispering in our ear, like, you shouldn't be doing this, or you need to let go of this. But it's up to us to be like, okay, am I going to make that decision? And then as you start to make that decision gradually, he will continue to help you let it go. Now you're not even craving it no more.
Yeah. Like
my desire, like to drink and smoke, I don't have the desire. Like it's just kind of gone. Yeah. Like, younger me, I'm like, I want to do this and that. But I also want to say, for the younger people, we can enjoy God. We can enjoy being young and being in Christ. There's even a book in the Bible, Ecclesiastes, even talking about how being in your youth, get to know God, get to know your creator. Because a lot of times we don't know the day that we're not going to be here anymore, And so get to know him. There are so many fun things you can do outside of sinning against God. I think a lot of times people think when you come into Christ, your life just get boring and now everything just like you a nun in a room and now you can't do anything. Like, no, that's not the case. Yes, things are getting stripped away, but there's so much peace to it. It's so much beauty to it. I don't think I've ever been more at peace in my life. You know, I don't desire certain things anymore, but I'm at peace with that because of God, you know?
Yeah. And among those things, so I guess I don't know if you even know this for sure, but like for the conversation of abstinence and something of that sort, is that simple? I guess it is in the Bible. Yeah. Wait till marriage.
Yeah.
So is that something you believe in as well?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Most definitely. My belief, my personal opinion, belief, and even going to the Bible, I truly, if I tell I always tell younger girls this, like if I could tell younger girls and even younger boys, but I'm mostly speaking to younger girls because I am a woman and, you know, I would definitely recommend waiting till marriage. I feel like not waiting till marriage brings a lot of different issues that we see in society today, a lot of baby mama stuff and breakups and just a lot of different things, even like
trauma,
diseases, trauma. And like even now me being in college for like medical assistant, we talk about these things and I'm like I be freaking out like, oh my God, so this really give me a reason to tell people like stay away from it, like for real. Like I would definitely recommend. I believed in it when I was younger, but I got peer pressured into doing it, you know, and kind of like forced. And still, like I would say, oh my gosh, I wish I would have just waited. Wish I just would have waited. But I tell people like, wait. Yeah. It's better that way. It's better to wait until you're married, until a man put a ring on that finger. You know, like wait.
Is that a ring on your finger?
Yeah.
Are you engaged?
Yes, we're getting married in December.
Oh my God. I was gonna ask you what's dating like now. Oh my God. So you guys are like, y'all have not done anything.
No.
How long was the relationship?
So, me and my fiance, we've known each other since we were in 6th grade.
Oh, another middle school.
Always known.
That's crazy.
Girl, we've always known each other. Like,
oh my God, that's nice. Nice ring?
Yes.
Oh my God, congratulations.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh.
So we came back together in January, his birthday time, and then he proposed to me in July. And we were dating like during that time. And then he's like, yeah, I'm ready. I think you're my wife. I believe you're my wife.
Wow.
So yeah, it took him no time. He was just like, yeah, God is telling me you're my wife.
So what would you say to people that say that when Christians get married, it's so quick because they just want to, you know, they want to consummate.
Intimate.
Yeah,
come together.
Yeah, come together. Do you think it's that, or do you think it's because there's no lust involved and you generally got to know that person? Like, what's your thought process?
I would say, I would genuinely say if we wanted to, no. I believe that we genuinely love each other, and I believe it's because we genuinely love God. We both separately have our own personal relationship with God, and we know that sex before marriage is wrong. But even with me being with him, we just enjoy each other's presence. I'm like, I can see myself living with you for the rest of my life. He can see himself. It's not even necessarily like we just ready to have intimacy, because that's not even really a conversation that we have a lot. Like, yes, the conversation may come about just about certain things and boundaries, but it's not something where we're like crazy over like, oh my gosh, we need to get married because we gotta have this. Like, we genuinely felt like this is something God has placed together, so why wait?
Yeah.
You know, like why wait years and years and years? And then we've always known each other, so I think that just made the process a little bit more easier. Yeah. Because I know like some people, it's different. You trying to get to know that person. Of course, I wouldn't recommend you getting married by next month. Like, you know, get to know them first and take your time, you know. But I think that's what made it easier for us as well.
Okay, and how old are you?
I'm 23.
You're 23? Okay, we're the same age. When's your birthday?
I just had a birthday in September.
Oh my God. Well, happy belated birthday.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're like a couple months old. I'll be 24 in December.
December
30th.
Oh.
When do you get married?
December 20th.
Oh my God.
That's crazy.
That's so cute. Okay, that's like a little Christmas wedding.
Yes.
Oh, I'm so happy.
Happy early birthday.
Thank you. Yeah. That's so exciting. Yeah, I also feel like I realize a lot of people that do tend to wait and they, you know, want to be abstinent. In that case, they actually find men that marry them. Because
girl, there's men out there. Yeah.
So would you say, okay, basically we're about to wrap this up. So like, this would be like a great question anyhow.
Yeah.
What would you recommend to girls that young women that are looking for husbands. They're looking for a Christian man because the dating pool.
It's
I don't know
a little
which
ghetto. It's a little ghetto.
A little ghetto. Okay. What advice would you give them to find that Christian man from your experience and maybe other people that you've? Because I'm assuming you're in church. You go to church, and so would you say like go to church and find your man? Like how?
Sometimes even the church men can be a little ghetto. Okay,
I heard.
I would definitely say know God first.
Okay.
That's number one, of course. Fall in love with God first. And because I fall in love with God first, and when you fall in love with God first, everything else shall follow. The Bible says, seek first the kingdom of heaven and everything else shall follow. God knows the desires of our heart. And if you desire to be married, it's nothing wrong with that. Wait for God's timing, because sometimes we rush into things and God never put you with that person. Now y'all breaking up, it's all this stuff. You like, what? Like
you're forcing it to happen.
You're forcing.
I've been there.
Talk about it. Forcing. Don't force it. We are all in different time periods in our lives. And whenever God sends that person, you're going to know. You're going to know. Just continue to be who you are. Continue to fall in love with God. And when the time is right, the Lord will make it happen. I promise you, he'll make it happen. Like, you don't have to force anything. I would never recommend forcing it. And a man that knows is going to know, especially a man that is being led by God. He's going to know. There's not going to be I don't know. I'm not sure if I'm ready. Like, we don't got time for that. We're getting older. We don't got time for the ghetto stuff. So that's what I would say.
But I'm sure a lot of women listening to this, that they will take that advice and consume it. It's important to know. And just lastly, because we're gonna we're gonna wrap it up. Why do you find it important? Well, why did you find it important to share your story publicly? You gave very vulnerable information that I thank you for. I'm sure many other women were probably emotional with you that have been through that same exact experience. Why do you think this is important? Why do you think your story is important publicly?
Wow. Honestly, this is a blessing because we going through something, and I never in a million years seen myself sitting anywhere telling a story and bringing glory to God. I have a passion to help others. I want to see the best in people. I want to see people thrive. And I know the source, which is God. He is the one that will help humanity thrive in general. And I wanted to be able to share that. And even before it's crazy how I even seen your thing come up about the audition. I prayed about it first. Because at first I seen it, and I watch your videos all the time. I love your videos. And at first I seen it, and I was just like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. And I kind of just, kept going. Then I seen it again. I'm like, okay, God. So I started praying about it. Then I seen it again. And it was like God kept telling me, like, do it. Yeah. And at first I'm like, okay, I will try. And if you want it to happen, it will go about. Then, I did it. I prayed on it. And just even the day, you reached out, and I was like, okay, God. So just being able to share this with other young people, because I see the world that we live in. I'm not, we're not blind to what's going on around us, So being able to share my story it's being able to help somebody else that once was in my shoes, because sometimes we feel like we don't have a way out, and we resort to other things. And I just want to tell people there is a way out. There is a way out, and don't give up and don't lose hope, because there's a way out, and God is waiting for you with open arms, whether you believe in him or not. He's waiting with open arms, and he's just ready to receive all his children in with love. So
thank you so much, Kayla. That was really helpful. And I think I'm glad that you spoke to God about even coming on and speaking with me, because I've learned a lot. And it's funny because I told you I'm kind of in my own journey right now. I was just talking to my sister about that. I was like, I feel like I feel like I'm kind of being pushed away from God a little bit, just having a little too much fun. I'm having a little time lately. And I hearing your story just now. I'm like, okay, I think you needed to be here. And it's just been very impactful. And I think in general, that's what I want for this show. That's all I've ever wanted, is just to have other people share their own stories, and kind of like how we beat ourselves up. We beat ourselves up about so many different things.
We do, yeah.
And we're angry at ourselves, but other people are going through the same exact thing, and we give other people grace. If this is our sister, oh, don't worry, you're good. Girl. If it's us, we're you're such a bad person. Oh my God, how could you? And that's what I wanted, is like just to have, you can hear other people's stories. You don't even, sometimes you feel like you're the only one going through something.
Yes.
But you hear someone else like, oh my God, like, that's like identical to me.
Yes.
So I thank you for being vulnerable. I thank you for just being confident enough to even come on this platform. And thank you so much. All right, you guys, that is the end of today's episode of the Decision Podcast. Kayla, do you have any social media that you like to share? Anything you have coming out? I would love to hear it, and I'm sure everybody else does too.
Yes, guys. So y'all can follow me on my TikTok, Kayla Wayla. I'm pretty sure she'll put it up there for y'all. And then I also have a YouTube called Jesus Over Flesh, where I just post Bible studies, and I haven't posted in a minute, but I'm gonna get to it. But yes, definitely follow my TikTok. That's really, I mostly post like everything on there. So yeah.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Kayla, for joining me again. Everyone be sure to check out Kayla on all her social media platforms. And that is the end of today's episode of the Decision Podcast. Bye, guys.